Hello everybody, I'm Ben Butters. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Eurochambers. I'm delighted to be here for this event to present the results of the TEBD SME survey. The TEBD, the Turkey-EU Business Dialogue project, has been going on for several years now, and we as Eurochambers are very happy to be the lead partner on that and to work very closely with TOBB for its implementation. So we're really pleased to have this opportunity after 2 years of Zoom calls with our partners and colleagues here in Ankara and across Turkey to be here in person, to meet some people for the first time in my case, and to be able to exchange with you on this, this important element in the implementation of the TEBD project. In a little while, I will present the results of the survey. I'll go through some slides to present the main findings of that survey. But first of all, we have some opening statements from a number of illustrious colleagues and guests. So I will just briefly present each of them, and then we will kick off with those opening statements. So firstly, we have Ayhan Zaytinoglu, who is replacing Rifat Hesijoglu today, who unfortunately is unable to make us, and I'm sure Ayhan will explain why. Then my own president, Luc Frieden, the president of Eurochambers, has come with us today to join this discussion. We've had a packed day already full of meetings, and there are more to come as well. Then we will hear from the Director General for Financial Cooperation at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Bülent Oksan. And then finally, Ambassador Nicolas Meyer-Landrut, the Ambassador for the EU delegation to Turkey, will make some opening remarks. First of all, though, I will hand the floor to Vice President Ayhan.
Mr. Ambassador, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to first mention that I am doing this speech on behalf of our President, Rifat Hisarcıklıoğlu. He is unfortunately not here due to his ankle injury. He has sent his best wishes. Dear Luc, the President of Eurochambers, dear participants and media representatives, I am honored to welcome you and your delegation to our union in Ankara. I have a special welcome to dear Luc, the President of Eurochambers. On behalf of Turkish business community, I really appreciate to have you here in our premises. Welcome again. I am also happy that Ambassador Nicholas is also with us this afternoon, and also Bülent Özcan is with us, and Marcus, my dear friend, is also here. We have a very good cooperation with Ambassador, and the business community appreciates his contributions to the EU-Turkey relations. Dear friends, this afternoon we would like to share the results of our survey on EU-Turkey business relations. This survey reflects the opinion of Turkish private sector on the EU-Turkey relations. It also reflects the readiness of the business community in implementing the EU legislation. The survey is part of the activities of EU-Turkey Business Dialogue project. I would like to thank the European Commission for financially supporting this project. Moreover, we appreciate the involvement and contributions of EU delegation team in Ankara. This is also a great support for the successful implementation. The CEO of Eurochambers, Ben, and his team have been doing a great job in the implementation of the process. I also would like to thank all of them. Let me also thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the CFCU for their support. Ladies and gentlemen, Turkey and EU are both partners and allies. Turkey has been targeting the EU membership for almost 60 years. By the way, I am president of IKV, which is a foundation working toward Turkish accession since 1965. So it's not been very successful, but we are trying. We have managed a lot in economic integration, As the business community, it is our duty to add more topics in our long-standing partnership. The business community in Turkey has been always supporting Turkey's integration with the EU. We see this relationship as roadmap and recipe for the transformation of economic, business, social, and humanitarian life in Turkey. The custom union has been the most important instrument for the transformation of the industrial production capacity. Accession negotiations have further expanded and took ahead this contribution. We all felt the positive impact of accession negotiation in different fields. After many positive years, unfortunately, the accession negotiations have been between Turkey and EU were stalled. We all know that we need each other. We need each other more than ever. Considering the common challenges, I think we do not have the luxury of continuing with the current situation. As a positive agenda item, cooperation on Syria, refugees is not deep enough to help us thinking a common future again. We need to take our cooperation beyond. Almost half of the Turkish exports are going to the EU market, and the European value chains are passing through Turkey, especially in the automotive sector. Turkey needs a green transformation agenda in line with the EU Green Deal initiative. In my opinion, the Green Deal could be considered as the most important positive agenda item. On the other hand, the modernization of customs union be a booster we much needed for the relations. The custom union and the Green Deal are interlinked. Progress in both Green Deal and the modernization of the custom union will help business in Turkey and in the EU. Ladies and gentlemen, although there will be a detailed presentation, let me briefly elaborate some of the findings of our survey. This is the third edition of such survey. Together with Eurochambers and with the support of European Commission, we conducted the previous survey in 2008 and 2013. Support for EU accession among Turkish companies is still high, 60%. More than 50% of surveyed companies still believe that Turkey will join the EU. Turkish enterprises are strong supporters for the modernization of the custom union. 74% of companies declared collaboration between the EU and Turkey on the digital single market should be strengthened. Before I conclude, I would like to thank once again Luc Frieden, the president of Eurochambers, and his team for being here today for the effective implementation of the project. Dear Ambassador, I would like to thank you and your team for your great support to the EU-Turkey relations. My fellow presidents of local chambers and commodity exchanges and all participants who are physically here and online, thank you very much for attending. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ayhan. That's a good way to start things off. And now we'll switch across to President Frieden for some comments from the Eurochamber's perspective, because as I said, this is a close cooperation. Luc.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in these times of war, in the south in Syria, in the north in Ukraine, it's good that people talk together. It's also important that people talk together outside periods of war, and especially if you talk to friends and neighbors like Turkey. And that's why when I started this new function as President of the European Federation of Chambers of Commerce, Industry and Services, I said I would like to go to Turkey during the first 3 months of my term in office. Because Turkey, and I knew that also when I visited your country in my previous role as Minister of Justice and Finance of Luxembourg, Turkey plays an extremely important role in geopolitics of our continent, in the region, but also as a very important trade partner of the European Union. You mentioned it, Ayhan, that the EU is the biggest trading partner of Turkey, but European companies also export for 70 billion euros each year to Turkey. There is a trade that is going on both ways, and I think our trade relationship is much better and much deeper than many think outside or those who do not look at these figures. The customs union that we have since 1995 is in fact a very deep partnership between Turkey and the European Union. I'm a lawyer by training, and when I studied EU law, we often talked about customs union as being something that is next to full membership, something much deeper than many of the free trade agreements that you can see around the world. So the fact that we have this customs union is a kind of bond that brings Turkey and the EU very close together. I think that the relationship between Turkey and the EU is a little bit like a love relationship between two people who want to look into the same direction but are not yet sure whether they should get married, have a civil partnership, just live together. And I think as long as the direction is the same, I think we can move forward. And on behalf of the European companies that we represent, the network of chambers, I think we want and we believe we should deepen the relationship with Turkey, the business relationship. Because trade is a bridge builder. And if I say that dialogue is important, especially now that there is war and conflict around us, I think we have to take into account that Turkey is, as I said, a neighbor, a partner, an ally for some of us in NATO, and that therefore deepening or using trade to deepen this friendship will also help solving other problems. And that's why I believe that the deepening and the adaptation of the customs union should and can go in parallel to political discussions. We should not wait until all the political issues can be solved, because in life you need to have a medium and long-term perspective. That is true for politics, that is true for business. And I think for businesses it is even easier to do that. If you are a CEO of a company, if you are a chairman of a company, you give yourself a business plan, a strategic plan for 5 or 10 years. And I think that's what we have to do here as well. And the adaptation of the customs union is in the mutual interest, because the economy has changed. We did not talk about global value chains 25 years ago. That was not a concept. We did not talk about the green and digital transformation that Ayhan just referred to. We did not know what would happen in other economies in Asia, China, and elsewhere 25 years ago. And I think in the diversification of the trade relations, also from a European perspective, a European business perspective, I think it makes sense to go to the next step of our love relationship with Turkey. As I said, let's look at the medium term. Let's look to make trade an enabler for a closer partnership, for mutual understanding, for trying to enable a dialogue on other difficult geopolitical issues. And let's simply try to look at the reality. The reality also when it comes to energy supply. Energy did not only become an issue after the invasion of Ukraine. How we move forward on the renewable energy, on which technologies we should use for that, how we can become less dependent on energy supplies from different regions in the world, should be a common agenda for Turkey and for the European Union. And we as Eurochambers, as a federation of chambers of commerce, think that these dialogues should be held. We need high-level dialogues on economic issues, whatever the names are, but we are a platform to help you, the business community of Turkey, and all the other chambers that we represent in achieving this. Separation in this love relationship is not an option. It's not an option because we would hurt ourselves altogether. We need a stable environment for businesses. We need a rules-based environment for businesses worldwide and domestically, because businesses look for stability and predictability. And I think that is the message that all of our chambers share, and I hope that can also be part of the business dialogue that we encourage to have. And in that context, obviously, a survey like the one we have done with the help of many companies of this country is extremely useful, because it's not enough just to talk about these things. You need to have a close contact with the companies who tell you what is exactly in their minds. And Mr. Vice President, you mentioned already some of the results of that, and I think that is very helpful for bringing this agenda forward. But on behalf of Eurochambers, we are there to help strengthening the relationship. We want to deepen it. We are in favor of an adaptation of the customs union to take into account the reality of today's economy, and we strongly believe that that will create a more prosperous society, both in Turkey and in the other countries that we represent in the European Chamber network. So I'm grateful for the meetings that we had so far today, and also those that will still come, to learn more from each other. And I can tell you that we will be there to help you in that dialogue with all the other members of not only the European Union chambers, but also the other chambers of the countries that are candidates or potential candidates to the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luke, for those words, and we'll touch more upon this evolving relationship when I present the results of the survey, which will be discussed by our panel a little later as well. Thank you very much, Luke. Moving on to Bülent Ökcan, who's the Director General for Financial Cooperation at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is a close project between, which is co-funded by the European Union and Turkey, so we're delighted to have you with us and look forward to hearing what you have to say, please.
Mr. President Ayhan Zeytinoğlu, dear President Luke Freyden, and also dear Ambassador Nicolas, I would like to welcome you all. And I would like to convey the message of Mr. Faruk Kaymakçı, who is our Deputy Minister, but unfortunately he is today in Antalya Diplomacy Forum, so could not participate to the events, but he conveyed his best wishes to all of you, so I would like to speak on behalf of him. So today we are come together with a very important project, EU-Turkey Business Dialogue. And within this opportunity, we will discuss today the launch of SME survey report, which have very, very important outcomes that we will discuss today. EU-Turkey Business Dialogue is one of the long-lasting projects under EU-Turkey Financial Cooperation, which has go back to more than 10 years, and one of the, as I mentioned, long-lasting project in our cooperation. This project is founded under civil society dialogue priority, and civil society dialogue is one of the most important pillars of EU-Turkish relations. We have three important pillars, which we could say the political relations, which we could say the technical relations, which is the harmonization of EU acquis, and the third one is the civil society dialogue. And this project provides us the cooperation and improving the dialogues between the business worlds in Turkey and the EU countries. Of course, when we have a look at the outcomes of today, the launch of the SME survey, Mr. President Ayhan Zeytinoğlu also mentioned that still, even all the negative outcomes of the political relations between Turkey and EU, still Turkish business community is believe on EU-Turkish cooperation. And even it is decreasing, we could say that more than 60% of the SMEs in Turkey is in favor of the EU cooperation and EU accession. This is, I think, very, very important. Even we have, as I mentioned, you know, the negative effects of all the political discussion among the parties. And when we are looking at the outcomes of the survey, I think we have received a lot of messages from the Turkish private companies. They say that, you know, they believe in custom union, but of course, they say that it should be revised. It should be modernized on the base of the current EU-Turkey economic relations, current outcomes of the changes in the EU economy, Turkish economy, the world economy. So it requires a change and it requires an important political support from all parties. But it is not enough. The SMEs say to us, they believe on the modernization of the custom union, but morely, they would like to know about the details of this change. So this is, I think, one of the most important issues. And in the next coming processes, while we are working with all parties as Directorate for Affairs, Minister of EU Affairs, as European Union delegation, as TOBB, as Euro chambers, as all business world in Turkey or EU countries, I think we have to take this message and we have to work more on that. And also it's not enough. Again, what the Turkish SMEs say to us in this report, they said that, you know, there are a lot of important developments and a lot of important opportunities for both sides to cooperate. First one is the EU Green Deal. This required a lot of change. This required a lot of developments considering the business way of business doing the methodology. So it should require to Turkish SMEs that within this project and within these different instruments, we have to inform the outcomes of Green Deal. What is Green Deal? What is its effect to Turkish SMEs? How it cooperate their trade and business with the European world? So this is also one of the important message that we have to take within this report. But it's not enough. Again, they said, you know, digitalization, change in the digital world and its adoption by the business community is also another issue that we all parties have to work and we all parties have to inform more the civil society institutions. We have to inform the chambers and we have to inform the SMEs in Turkey about the outcomes of digitalization between, you know, the parties, I could say. So there are more, of course, and today's in the panels we will discuss more on it. But I could say that, you know, in the new period of EU-Turkey relations, that we could say, of course, EU-Turkey financial cooperation is covering a lot of instruments that we can work together and we can provide the information, the communication, and the cooperation is what is required from Turkish SMEs in this report. So we have to use IPA more efficiently on the basis of that. And not only IPA, we have to use other sources of, other instruments of cooperation on financial side, like the union programs, especially the ones Turkey in, like the Erasmus Plus, like the Horizon Europe, like the Digital Europe, like Invest EU, and the others that Turkey would like to participate. So, as the business community in Turkey, business community in EU and our institutions, I think we have to work more and with different projects in these instruments. And also, by taking this opportunity, I would like to introduce you a new instrument again that is welcomed by us also within the EU-Turkish financial cooperation and which is very important for business community in Turkey. We call this instrument as Turkish Investment Platform. Turkish investment platform is a kind of a blending mechanism which merges the credits opportunities, finance opportunities from the international finance community and merging it with EU IPA funds and providing financial instruments, financial opportunities to the business sector, to the private sector in Turkey. It is just the beginning of this process. We are still negotiating and discussion with the European Commission, the Turkish investment platform. But in the next coming days, in the next coming months, it will be much more, let me say, clarified, and we will give more information to the business community on the both sides. But it is, of course, the changes in them, or the tough issues between two parties, the Green Deal, the digitalization, and also the custom union requires a lot of investment for the Turkish private companies. And Turkish investment platform could be a good opportunity for all of them, especially by providing financial instrument as guarantees or credit mechanisms to the private companies. So we have to establish this platform as efficient as possible, and of course we have to inform all the parties about the opportunities that is provided by this new program initiated within Turkish-EU cooperation. So, while finalizing my opening remarks, I would like to thanks to TOBB, I would like to thanks to Eurochambers, I would like to thanks to our good partner, European Union delegation, especially to our good cooperation in this project. And also I'm proud that now we are coming to end the implementation of this program, which has a history of more than 10 years, but also I'm proud that we will start a new one, which is also financed under 2020 program. And this project will go on, and we have a lot of opportunity that we can manage on the basis of the outcomes of this project, and also specifically for this SME survey report. So again, for their great attitudes and good cooperation, I would like to thanks to all parties on behalf of my institution. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Özcan. And thank you for your ongoing support, both in the past and hopefully in the future as well with this fantastic program. You already mentioned the valuable role of the EU delegation in this process, so that leads us very nicely on to our final speaker in this opening round. Ambassador Mayra Landrut, the floor is yours. Ambassador.
Monsieur le Président, lieber Herr Frieden, es ist schön, Sie hier zu sehen. So much in German, now we'll continue in English. Mr. Cetignolo, it's a pleasure to be here. Please, all my best regards to Rifat Bey. We are missing him here today, but I hope we will see him soon again. Bülent, dear Bülent, thank you for your contribution. It's always very difficult to speak when everything has been said, but let me make perhaps 4 more general comments. You referred to it, Monsieur le Président. We are witnessing a sea change. Some called it this invasion of Russia and Ukraine a new 9/11 moment in history. We are reassessing our policies within the European Union, in member states, and I think we also should reassess at least part of our EU-Turkey relations in this context. This is an important moment. I don't know to what reassessment will lead, but we have to stand together as NATO allies within the EU, between EU and Turkey. We are facing a very serious challenge, and we will only be able to face it together. My second point, the customs union, it has been mentioned several times. We just recently were with EU ambassadors. I'm afraid we were not in Kocaeli, we were in Bursa, but we will come to visit you too. And we saw and had long meetings with representatives of the automotive industry in this country. And this was a demonstration, if it was needed, how successful the customs union has been, how important it was for the transformation of the Turkish economy, how important it was for the development of EU-Turkish trade and economic relationships. So the customs union is not only a cornerstone of our relations, it is also a big success story. And I'm happy to see that serious work between the Ministry of Trade, DG Trade, is ongoing to see and to find ways by which we could enter into a next stage. But still some work needs to be done. We want this customs union to be fully implemented, and this will be the basis for a successful modernization. The second or third point I want to make is on the Green Deal. We very much realized and appreciated how much the Turkish private sector has contributed to the change of mind in this country, which led to the ratification of the Paris Agreement in the last autumn. You were the front runners, and we thank you for that. This puts us, European Union, its member states, Turkey, now on the same path towards objectives of having a CO2 neutral economies. I say by mid-century because for us it's 2050, for you it's 2053, so mid-century we can work with. But now actually the work starts, because now we have to agree on the measures and the means to reach these objectives. In the European Union is the Green Deal. I was recently in Konya at a big conference organized by the Ministry of Environment here in this country to see how to take this forward. And this will also have an impact of the customs union. I'm looking forward to Turkish developments of CO2 pricings in this country. And the closer this is to our emission trading scheme, the less frictions we will have in the customs union. So this is an important point too. Finally, Bülent, you made reference to the Turkish investment platform, which is a new and very important instrument. We are at the beginning of a new financial cycle in the European Union. Turkey has signed up to its participation in the New Horizon Europe program, which is also very important and which will help in the green and digital transformation. You have signed up again to Erasmus, which is very important, and we are negotiating other programs. So we are at the verge of setting up new elements or continued elements of cooperation, and with some optimism and some engagement for a positive agenda, I think we'll get there. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much to all of the speakers in that opening discussion. We will now move on to the presentation of the results. There's been a few sneak previews from the previous speakers, but I'll go into a little bit more detail over the next few minutes. If you don't mind, I'm going to sit over there because then I can see the screen while I'm presenting, and I'll take you through the slides. And if you guys need to leave, it may be necessary. I think I won't be offended. So I just need some technical support here. I'm not sure how I change the slides. Thanks very much. This one doesn't seem to be working, so somebody else is going to have to probably change the slides for me. I'll just give you a little bit of background on the survey. We conducted the survey last autumn. We got over 1,800 replies from Turkish companies of all sizes, from all sectors, and from every region of Turkey. So it's a really quite representative set of data that we've managed to gather. All good. Thank you, thank you. So there you can see a little bit more information about that. I guess the first significant point, and it's already been mentioned by a couple of the speakers in the opening session, is that there is strong support for EU accession. The second point there you can see is about the Green Deal and the significant implications that has for the customs union and the relationship between the EU and Turkish business community. And the third point there is about TBD, which you all know about. We've spoken about it already. It's a project that started 4 years ago, and it's building on previous projects between Eurochambers and TOBB with the support of the EU and the Turkish government. So it's a project that's building on a significant backlog of work that the business communities have done together. I'm really struggling with the technology here, I'm afraid. Can we move on to the next slide, please? I'm going to have to ask somebody else to do this for me because I'm not managing with this at all. It's not working. So the first point is one that I just mentioned a little bit earlier, and that really reiterates the point that 60% of the respondents support EU accession. So I think that's a really fairly clear message from the respondents there. Next slide, please. And even slightly 10% fewer actually believe that that will happen, it seems, or well, 6% fewer, but nonetheless a significant majority do believe that Turkey will become a member of the EU. Next. And there we can see, in relation specifically to the question about the customs union, what do you think about the customs union between Turkey and the EU? And again, nearly 2/3 believe that it has been beneficial, and I think that that was reiterated in the messages of the opening speeches. But nonetheless, 1 in 5 believe it's been disadvantageous for Turkey, for both Turkey and the EU. Next, please. So I guess, unsurprisingly, those companies which export to the EU have got a more positive attitude towards the customs union. We don't know whether that is chicken or egg, of course, but nonetheless, there's clearly a strong correlation between those two elements. Next, please. And here we can see firstly a slide from back in '96, where at the beginning of the customs union's implementation, where you can see that the relationship of Turkey in the region economically. And now in the next slide, if you can move on to it, you can see. You can move on to the next slide. There we go. The more recently, the Turkish share of the region's manufacturing has remained stable in the region. Notwithstanding the fact that they're doing a lot more trade with the EU because of the integration there. Moving on to the next one, please. So here we can see that the customs union has had a significant impact on the structure of exports and includes a lot more manufactured goods. There were some discussions during the course of today about possible modernization of the customs union, but clearly at the moment it revolves around manufactured goods, and that's reflected in the results here. If you can move on to the next slide. There you can see the comparison with 2019, and there's been a much stronger move towards manufactured goods during the course of the implementation of the customs union. Moving on to the next one, please. And here we go back to the question of the customs union, but here specifically about, sorry, we're on a different slide to me. Can you? Yeah, that's the one. About the proportion of companies who are supportive of modernization of the customs union. So specifically the question here is about modernization. So we saw before that around 60% support the customs union, and similarly 60% believe that that customs union should be modernized. And again, about a fifth believe that that isn't necessarily beneficial on this occasion for Turkey. Next slide, please. And here you can see that relating specifically to the extension of the customs union to agricultural products, over half of them believe that it should be extended to include agricultural products. Slightly less than half, interestingly, believe that services should be included. Next slide, please. Now we move on to one of the topics that was mentioned several times in the opening session about the Green Deal. The knowledge of the Green Deal is clearly quite mixed among the respondents, more or less 50-50. And I guess one could assume that the respondents are more likely to be following EU developments anyway, so perhaps the broader knowledge of the Green Deal is significantly lower than that across the Turkish economy, but that's just my extrapolation. Moving on to the next one, please. And as mentioned by the ambassador, the Turkey signed up to the Paris Climate Agreement last autumn, and there is significant approval among the business community of that decision. There you can see 3/4 of the respondents believe that that was the right move and that Turkey was right to sign up to the Paris Climate Agreement. Next one, please. And here we move on to the other part of that twin transition that we've spoken about earlier, which is the digitalization. And more than 2/3 of the firms believe that the future collaboration on the digital single market should be strengthened. So that's, in fact, it's more or less 3/4 who agree with that statement. And again, about 1/5 do not agree with that statement. But nonetheless, we see that digitalization is clearly, for many Turkish businesses, a strong element in the cooperation with the EU business community. Next slide, please. Here we ask the question about how you assess your relationship with the EU market. Clearly there is room for improvement there among the respondents. They want to know more, they want to find out more and understand better opportunities within the EU market, which is one of course, the fundamental reasons behind the TEBD project and why we hope to be able to build on that in the future as well. And I think that we have a strong case for doing so based on those results. It's really striking that they believe that there's a lot more work that can be done to help those Turkish businesses familiarize themselves with the EU market. Next, please. And yeah, the SMEs who answered this survey would like more information on trade regulations. Whereas for large companies, again, this is the same in the EU, large companies are better equipped, better informed about trade agreements. They have the internal capacity to keep up to date with them. But for smaller businesses, that is a challenge given their day-to-day operating constraints and the fact that they don't have that internal capacity. Whereas conversely, for big businesses, the main issue that they would like to know more about is taxation. You can also see that product certification and regulations on competition rules feature quite highly in that response. Next one, please. And here we go on to the topic of funding, and again, not quite so high as the slide we saw about EU market knowledge, but nonetheless, 2/3 of the respondents would like to know more about EU funding opportunities. Bülent mentioned it, that's something that they're working on and that there are new opportunities as well. Again, we find that in the EU as well, that businesses often don't know what is out there, what they could potentially benefit from it. It's just not in their direct line of vision. So that demonstrates that there is a role for chambers and business support organizations to help and guide businesses so that they know what is available and how fundamentally to apply for it and benefit from it. Next one, please. Okay, this question was, which of the current issues do you think will need most help in relation with the EU and in the event of possible membership? So here we see that the digitalization aspect is the area where they believe that they would need most support, most help, closely followed by agriculture in Turkey. And then an issue that we touched upon earlier in the day around visa applications and the complexity and indeed cost of that process for Turkish businesses is a significant challenge for them, and that's reflected data protection is something that we see in the EU, among EU businesses as well. I'm quite surprised that the Green Deal features so low, but we'll come on to that again in a minute, perhaps as well in one of the future slides, which may perhaps explain that. Next one, please. And this demonstrates where these businesses turn to for information. I guess one might assume that this would be the case because this was a survey conducted in the context of a project run by Chambers of Commerce, but nonetheless we reached out far more broadly than that via a third party who helped us run this survey. So I think it's an interesting set of results to show that chambers are important to businesses when trying to find out information about the EU, but they also turn, of course, to other business associations, public institutions, the Enterprise Europe Network, and a variety of other sources of knowledge and information. Next one, please. And here, when we dig a little bit deeper about the kind of services, kind of support and information that the Turkish market would need from the Chamber network, we hear, reflecting the previous slides, that they would like general information about the EU, but also about the funding opportunities which we mentioned earlier, and indeed information on the customs union, which is of course the main basis for the commercial relations at the moment. So logically, they would like information on that, on the accession process, and on the mechanics of export documents, which of course is an important element for many businesses as well. Next one, please. And 1 out of 3 of the companies who were surveyed had already heard about TEBD. I think that's reasonable, but again, there is room for improvement. We can work on the visibility and the outreach, indeed in the EU as well. That's a challenge with a project like this, but we need to work on it before. So 2/3 of the respondents hadn't heard of TBD before, so that's something that we can work on as we go forward and hope that more businesses can benefit from the services provided within the context of the TEBD project. Next one, please. So, to conclude, firstly, categorically, businesses believe that the customs union has had a transformative effect on Turkey. There's a lot of support among the Turkish business community for the EU process. That relates more perhaps to the customs union rather than the accession process. Like EU businesses, Turkish companies are following the twin transition agenda very closely, and they want more information, more advice, more support on that process. Decarbonisation is perceived as an opportunity for EU-Turkey relations, and they believe that the customs union can be modernised, can be adapted to have a transformative effect on the implementation, on the pursuit of the Green Deal. And that last point there, I think, is an important one, that decarbonisation is not only about climate, but it's also a business opportunity. And it's also, of course, increasingly, as we're seeing at the moment, an issue of strategic importance and security as we go forward. So that provides you with a bit more detail on the survey. I hope you've found that useful, but we will go into it, we will discuss it in further depth now in a panel with a variety of experts who can perhaps provide some analysis on those results and consider the implications for the next phase of TBD, but also, I think, for the discussions between EU policymakers and Turkish policymakers about the next steps in the economic relations between these economies. Thank you very much. And at this point, we will move on to the panel. So I will ask my colleague Oya to come up, and she will be moderating that panel. And then Oya will introduce the 4 panelists, some of whom have managed to join us today, but some will be joining us online, given air issues between Istanbul and Ankara. But we will work it out. Oya, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ben. Actually, as Ben mentioned, due to the bad weather conditions, some of our panelists had to postpone and cancel their flights, and they are not together with us today. But thanks to Marcus is here, so I would like to invite one of our speakers to the platform, and other panelists will connect to our session online. So, Marcus, German-Turkish Chamber of Commerce and Industry Chairman, Marcus Slevo. Come here, and then I can. This. Yeah.
But if I present my own slides, maybe I can stand.
As you wish. So, su olacak oradan bu şekilde kalabilir, sonra gidecek zaten.
Kürsü mü kullanacağım?
Tamam, şu an gerekmeyecek. Sorry for this technical arrangements. Marcus, actually, before I know that you will make your presentation, but first I would like to ask some questions to you because you heard about the results of our SMEs, TBD SME surveys, and I know that you also carried out different surveys and prepared a business outlook. And your survey is on customs union, and we would love to hear from you. What do you think about German-Turkish business relation and the future of customs union? What is customs union for us? And following to this discussion and the result of surveys, what is coming next? So the floor is yours.
Well, just to give a short answer, what is coming next? I hope Customs Union 2.0, because that's all what we want. We want, as business, we want an upgrade of the Customs Union. The current Customs Union regime is old-fashioned. It doesn't cover the necessary sectors and business areas that we need. It is already very good, and my predecessors, in terms of speaking today, they have already mentioned it. We have already great success stories. Automotive sector is one of them, and other sectors as well that have profited from the Customs Union pretty well. But now with other areas and a modern economy emerging, we definitely need to broaden to other sectors. And that is the viewpoint not only of the German companies here and the German business community, but that's the viewpoint of the international European business community, as we have a cycle of bilateral chambers, European bilateral chambers, and we, together with TOBB and Tebd, the think tank of the TOBB, we created and published a position paper on the customs union, which exactly says that an upgrade is imminent. When thinking about the custom union and the EU relationship, Luke just mentioned it. It's about a love relationship. But when we are talking about the love relationship for 60 years, then I think there's something wrong in this love relationship, either with one or the other partners, or with both of them. So when thinking about the classical Turkish approach, when you are getting married, first there's kızisteme, so you are asking for the bride at home, and then you have nishan, and that is more an engagement, and later on you have düğün, getting married. So I would consider the customs union like nishan, but the nishan happened 27 years ago. So you definitely need to have a renewable approach to that, a renewed approach to nishan at least, because that at least defines
a certain more institutional approach of a love relationship. So just to use that, what dear Luc has mentioned, we definitely have to work on this love relationship, because otherwise external parties might consider us as maybe a couple that cannot be taken seriously. So when thinking about the German-Turkish business relationship with Turkey, then this is quite a sizable one. I don't know if these technology things are working. Yes, they do. I'm very happy. So first of all, the European point of view, yes, every party in this love relationship has a bit of a different perspective, but the overall overlapping aspect of this is that we all want economic growth. We all want prosperity. We all want peace, and we all want to improve each party's, in such a relationship, each party's competitive advantage. So there are, of course, different regional and competitive perspectives that might be different when we look at the EU and when we look at Turkey, but the overlapping aspects are so important, and now maybe also the recent geopolitical developments have shown they are very key, and these two partners definitely should have a bright future with a real marriage and not only with an engagement party. So when we look at our surveys, we are conducting these surveys among our members. We are a chamber here with almost 1,000 members in Turkey, and our members are distributed over all the different sizes, the different company sizes. We have very large German companies, Turkish companies, as much as SMEs, as much as medium-sized companies. And in principle, when we are talking about the customs union, we are pretty successful within this scope of the customs union. German companies and Turkish multinationals, they have succeeded substantially. Even in the survey that we have published together with Tebd, we have Ford Otosan, we have Arçelik, with other very sizable Turkish and international companies that have grown substantially after the introduction of the first customs union. And however, when we are thinking about what is needed for going forward, we still have certain bureaucratic hurdles and also non-tariff barriers, and the problem of certificate of origin that are the classical barriers within the context of the current customs union setup. Of course, everyone wishes the classical expansion areas of the customs union 2.0, and they are e-commerce, services, agriculture, and public procurement. And our members are aware of that, but maybe as much as in the survey that we have seen here today, wanting something is one thing, but knowing exactly what the details of the expansion of the customs union are is still something that needs to be distributed as knowledge. It's not yet that much familiar within the scope of the different parties. When we look at the changes due to COVID, I think the fragility of the supply chains that we have seen also within the scope of expanded trade and production platforms going more into Asia than having it more closer to the home base, we have seen that COVID has given a bit of an additional argument that Turkey is a good platform, and for being a good platform for nearshoring, you definitely have to have a much broader and more intensified integration into Europe and into the customs union, because Turkey represents a very important partner, ally, and hedge to everything that has happened over the last 30 years in terms of expansion investments in the East and the Far East, which has been quite fragile over the course of the last 2 to 3 years. So here again, another argument that is very much supported by our survey, why Turkey needs to be even closer to the EU. This is the survey that I was talking about. I'm inviting everyone to download it and to have a look at it very soon. Also, Oya will be our partner in Brussels, where we are presenting it together with TOBB and our other bilateral chambers. The French are with us, the British, the Dutch, even if the British are not with us in the EU anymore, but here in Turkey we are still together. That's a very positive sign. And all the other major European players are part of this initiative as bilateral chambers. When thinking about our overall business outlook on Turkey, that is also something that we are doing on a 6-month basis. We are always checking with our member base what is their view on how they see the business climate here in Turkey, and we compare it with all our chambers abroad. We have a network of 140 chambers or offices around the world as a German chamber organization, and this gives us the chance to ask all our members all over the world about the view that they have in their particular country and globally on the business prospects. And literally with these chambers and offices, we are covering 100% of German trade globally. And that is quite a nice representation, which then can be compared to what is happening in Turkey. So we have primarily in this survey answers from German companies that are owned by German parent companies, German capital, and they are, one can say also, they are quite export-oriented out of the platform of Turkey. So that is something that needs to be added to the information. And the largest ones are the ones that have substantially responded. So when looking, first of all, at what Germany is about and how Germany is represented here in Turkey, we have investments of German origin of more than 10 billion euros over the last 20 years. This is number 4 or 5, depending on the calculation. When we look at the Netherlands are a tax-efficient base, so many investments that are done from different countries and different nations is coming through the Netherlands, so it's not pure Dutch money that is represented in the first column. However, the German investments, they are 100% German, just by the way. When we look at the size, we are talking about, in dollar terms, we are talking about $41 billion of bilateral trade, or 38 billion euros, and Germany is Turkey's largest trade partner. So that is quite a substantial relationship, very sizable relationship, and it definitely goes back to so many reasons and such a deep friendship and kind of sisterhood and brotherhood that exists between the two countries, that this is not really a surprise. And when we are looking now at the perspective and the viewpoints that the German companies have, at least on the basis of November, since November, 2 things have happened. Number one, of course, are the very sad and unpleasant developments that we have seen in Ukraine. And the second thing is that we have seen substantial monetary policy decisions that definitely have influenced the business climate as well. Let's see to what kind of future economic results these monetary policy decisions are leading. But before that, we had quite a positive view within the German business community. The positive view was positive, and even on record levels in comparison to our previous surveys, on record levels both in how they view the current business progress that the companies are doing and the future that these companies believe they have in terms of future growth of the company business. However, they might be not so positive about the overall economic development environment that they're operating in. Nevertheless, the overall view that they have about the prospects, in particular now coming from a very low level caused by the pandemic, we have quite positive results in all areas as per November last year. The most interesting and the best result, I would say, is that literally all these companies and their viewpoint is for investments extremely positive. So they see Turkey as an opportunity. They see the developments that we have seen over the course of the last couple of years as something where they say Turkey, including also the nearshoring needs that they see now going forward due to COVID-19, and also the fact that asset prices in Turkey have depreciated substantially over the last 2 to 5 years, they see Turkey as almost a lifetime opportunity. So at this point in time, it's a good time to invest in the Turkish market, at least from the viewpoint of our members per November last year. And these investments are happening whenever we are publishing these results. We are also always bringing one case study, and we brought one case study for this presentation in November from the pharmaceutical sector that invested substantially and will continue to invest substantially in Turkey. The same plan goes hand in hand with the investment plans, is about employment. Also, further employment is planned by the German companies. And however, there are 3 major risk factors that the German companies are seeing. Risk factor number 1 is the currency volatility and the depreciation of the currency that is always causing a headache, and also in the long run with inflation. Inflation is definitely harming long-term investments. Then the overall economic framework, we are seeing a monetary policy that is maybe unorthodox and requires maybe getting used to it. Therefore, the overall economic framework is something that puts a question mark to the minds of the German companies. And on top of that, the raw material and energy prices are definitely now, with the current situation in Ukraine and within the scope of what happens north of Turkey, the energy prices are a major concern for everyone here in the country. So I'm just want to give you a bit of, finally, a bit of a comparison. When we look at the global survey that we are doing, currency fluctuation, currency matters, and currency volatility are not so much an issue for the other German companies all around the globe. It's very much a serious issue here locally, and therefore you see this enormous gap when we are referring to the exchange rate risk. Yes, so thank you very much. This gives a bit of an understanding of where the German business community lies and what we are thinking about the customs union. Yes, we want 2.0, definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marcus. It was a really great presentation, and thank you very much for your remarks and insights. And I know that you have very limited time, and
yes,
I didn't see any question, but we may ask if there is any question in the room. Do you have any question? I'm checking our Zoom. Thank you so much for your intervention and
Had been a
being
pleasure, Oya.
here.
Thank you.
And
see you in Brussels.
See you in Brussels in April. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now I will kindly ask to turn on the cameras, and then we will have 3 panelists who are May I kindly ask to turn on your cameras? So we have 3 panelists. The first panelist will be Güven Sak, who is the program director at Tebd, which is Economic Policy Research Foundation of Turkey. And another speaker will be from European Commission, and Nele Aykon. And she is the head of unit at DG Trade, and she is responsible for the trade relations with the southern neighborhoods, Middle East, Turkey, Russia, and Central Asia. And then we will have Çiğdem Naz, who is the Secretary General at Economic Development Foundation, EKV. So, Güven Sak, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but izin almam lazım. Gelemiyorum.
We can't turn on the video. There is a blockage.
Ya, oturum sahibi durdurduğu için diyor.
Şakir Bey. Hello Nene.
Hello from Brussels. Hello.
Hello again. Thank you very much for being with us today. So we had a really detailed presentation on our results, and I would like to start the discussion about the results of and findings of our survey. And may I start with Güven Sak? Mr. Sak, what do you think? How do you see the current state of affairs in EU-Turkey business relations? And how do you see the results of TBD SME survey? And what are the next steps from here?
Yeah. As noted before, let me say a few words regarding that. Despite all the difficulties, since 2007, 2008, our EU process seemed to have stalled. But despite all those difficulties, there is still strong support for the EU process. And I think it is much more related with the concrete developments on the ground. First of all, the customs union itself is here and it is working. So it's an important element of the EU-Turkey process when the accession process itself has not been moving forward. I think it's possible to see these customs union itself as a concrete achievement. And as noted during the presentation also, in terms of its impact, somebody has been mentioning that this is a love relationship, etc. And if you look at it from that angle, this relationship, I think Turkey, EU or the customs union had a positive influence on Turkey, which is good. And it worked wonders up until now in terms of the transformation of Turkey. And when we look at the survey results more closely, it's also possible to see that there is more support for the EU process, for example, where there are more EU investments. And especially after 2002, the EU investments in Turkey has increased very rapidly. Now, if you look at the total investments, total foreign direct investments into Turkey, around 60-65 of those investments are coming from the EU countries. So where those investments are actually happened or made, there is in fact more support for the EU process. So I think it is possible to say that when you see the concrete results of this collaboration, this cooperation, there is more support for the process itself, which is, I think, very useful. So when I look at the former surveys that were done, when you compare the results, I think there is a change in the nature of the support in terms of looking for more concrete developments on the ground at this moment, which is, I think, again makes, for example, this newly announced Turkish Investment Forum as a step in the right direction for strengthening this EU-Turkey business relationship in the years to come. I think that we need to focus on some concrete achievements in order to move forward. Can I stop here? I mean, regarding what I see when I look at the survey itself. Didem Hanım may things to say or
We can't hear
yeah,
you, but
we can't hear you. Oya Hanım, we are not hearing you.
I will try to.
I am really sorry about this technical problem. Can you hear me now? Okay, that's perfect. Actually, at this point, I would like to ask Nele, what is the trade policy of the EU going forward?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this panel, albeit virtually as I'm connecting from Brussels. So as we meet today, Russia's aggression is underway in Ukraine, and this will no doubt lead to significant changes. It is already having impact on trade, on supply chains, and on the economic domain at large. As we know, the EU-Turkey Customs Union, established almost 30 years ago, has enabled a great decrease of trade flows and investments. And actually, the last year, 2021, was a record year in our mutual trade, which reached an impressive peak of over 157 billion euros of trade. So in this conjunction, the Turkish SMEs survey and the support to the customs union is noteworthy. Also, we note that the survey includes expectations for the customs union modernization. On the modernization of the customs union, the Commission had proposed draft negotiating directives back in 2016. So these negotiating directives are awaiting the approval of EU member states. But what did this mandate at the time, the draft mandate, contain? As was shown by the presentation before, the proposal by the Commission back in 2016 was to modernize the customs union, yes, but also to extend it to bilateral relations in areas such as services, public procurement, and sustainable development, notably. So on this draft mandate, last year in June, the discussions resumed by member states in the council at technical level. So this sort of is a discussion that is being that is pending and that the member states are having. Now, the second and a very important line of work is also, as was recalled by the European Council last year, there is a need for making progress also on the implementation of the current customs union. So in that respect, work has intensified on the 26 trade barriers that we have registered in the European Commission's market access database. Needless to say that these trade barriers create difficulties both for the EU and then for the Turkish operators, as well as for their own value chains. So this work on market access barriers, on trade irritants, is an important one. And we have been engaging very constructively with the Turkish authorities on these trade barriers, and this we have done also under the direct invitation by the European Council. So we are, for instance, tackling barriers that are particularly burdensome for SMEs. Just to note one, it's about import surveillance in Turkey. So this is factually what has been identified as something of relevance. Today we've heard already that there is also great interest among the Turkish private sector in the European Green Deal. We have seen that majority of companies, 76%, responded that Turkey should ratify the Paris Climate Agreement. This has now happened. So the Commission also on this topic of the Green Deal is exchanging information with the Turkish authorities, giving them information. So this is also an important strand of work. And then another one, which was previously mentioned, was the one on digitalization. Indeed, this is also something that more sustainable and digital jobs can also be labeled as quality jobs. So this is something that I think is very much linked to trade. In terms of financing, indeed, the EU is working closely with the international financial institutions to have a broader impact, to leverage the impact, have a better joined up approach. In particular, in 2021, the EU announced the new external action guarantee. It's worth of 53 billion. Out of this overall amount, there will be about 40 billion of guarantee capacity to stimulate public and private investments by mitigating the risk that is associated to these investments. So this is happening under the European Fund for Sustainable Development Plus. This is a global initiative, and Turkey is fully eligible to benefit from this initiative. So, and finally, indeed, this has also been referred to, but there is the European Commission, together with national authorities and the IFIs, is working to set up a dedicated investment platform for Turkey. So this would allow, having the investment proposals be identified and assessed, and then be made available to those that are eligible to benefit from EU's support. So this hopefully all contributes also to the better functioning of the customs union, and we look forward to continuing the cooperation with the Turkish counterparts, notably so as to make the life of business and notably of the SMEs easier and more streamlined in our common customs union. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your remarks. So regarding this, I would like to ask further. So what are the most important expectations of the Turkish business community about modernization of the customs union? And Çiğdem Hanım, would you like to answer this?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to congratulate also the two organizations for this report. I think this survey, I think the results of the survey are very illuminating, and I think all researchers and experts on this issue will elaborate on these issues further. So it will be a very important resource for us. Regarding the expectations of the business community, I can maybe contribute to the debate with some sort of observations I had during our research and studies at the Economic Development Foundation. For a couple of years now, especially since 2016, when a lot of work had been going on regarding the start of formal negotiations for the modernization process of the customs union, we also started a series of seminars and information meetings on this issue with members of the business community. Since that time, we visited more than 40 cities of Turkey, and we had seminars in chambers of commerce, chambers of commodity exchanges, and chambers of industry in these different cities of Turkey. And there we talked about Turkey relations with a focus on the modernization of the customs union. And during these seminars, we were also, as the İKVT, we were able to also gather the views of the business community in these different towns. And most of our observations are in parallel with the results of this survey. We also had the observation that there was a general interest and support for the modernization of the customs union. But also there were a few points which created concerns for the business community. First of all, they wanted non-discriminatory treatment, they wanted predictability, and they wanted more inclusion into the common market, into the EU single market. In this process since 2016, of course, then we had the COVID-19, and we mostly switched to online meetings, and we also included the Green Deal in our debate, and we also had several meetings on the Green Deal and its effects on business. So I think in this framework, we have also observed that the business community is very much a very active interlocutor for the European Union in Turkey. They are also supporting this process with some reservations. I think what is very important is that they are aware that there is a new business space, a new business world emerging, including both the current process of business transactions, investments, free movement of goods, etc., but also including these two twin priorities of the European Union, the digital transformation and the Green Deal. So the business world is, most of it is aware of the changes that these will bring, but they are not really sure how it will affect them. So they need more information, they need more feedback. And also they may have problems about gathering information about the EU market. So they want more inclusion into the EU market, and they also want the lifting of barriers such as transport quotas. And also visa is another very important issue, because visa liberalization would also maybe help in the coming years, of course, when there is more normalization after COVID, we can see maybe a sort of revision of the visa liberalization dialogue. So I think it's very important, this level of interest and also this level of support for moving things forward in Turkey relations and the customs union. Another very important factor that the business community has in Turkey, I think, is resilience, which is, I think, a very important concept also for the European Union in today's world, including also the major crises that we all in the world we have gone through in the last couple of years. So I think the Turkish business world have gone through major crises, major shocks, major upheavals, and they were able to adapt themselves to the changing circumstances, both internally and internationally. So I think this is a very important source of dynamism, and the business world is aware of it. It's aware of its value, its quality, and it wants more integration, more dialogue with the EU business community. Another very important factor is when, for example, formal negotiations start, or if they start between Turkey and the European Union regarding the formal negotiation of the modernization of the customs union, I think one important factor that the business world would be interested in is to have more say in the negotiations, to have a seat maybe at the table, especially the representative organizations of the business world. So they want more involvement. They don't want to learn about the negotiations afterwards, but they wanted to be inside this process. They want to be inside these negotiations. So I think that's also that should also be taken into account. I think both Turkey and the European Union can really make use of the contributions of the business world. And also regarding the recent changes and shocks we have been going through with the COVID-19, with the economic crisis, and also with the demands for adaptation to digitalization and green transformation, I think it is a very critical time, a critical conjuncture where Turkey and the European Union should converge, should work together, cooperate more. And of course, as previous speakers have also referred to, the war in Ukraine has created a very stark emergency and urgency for the West to join ranks and to create a common front. And I think Turkey is a very important also player in this sort of new geopolitical reality. And one way to integrate Turkey further, not only on the basis of interest, but also on the basis of values, on the basis of greater convergence, revitalization of democratization, and also good governance standards, I think could be through the use of economic factors, and the business world can play a very, very important role. It can act as a bridge to rekindle the Turkey-EU relationship. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Çiğdem Hanım. So I would like to just get deep into Green Deal and these Ukrainian and Russian situation. So following your remarks, I would like to ask Minister Sak and Ms. Ekorn, so what are the possible impact of the Ukrainian situation on the Green Deal from Turkish, for the Turkish businesses and from the European perspective?
Shall I start? Okay. You know, when you look at the developments, there are two game changers in recently, the last couple of years. If you forget about the pandemic, which is also very important, one is the Green Deal, I think, the decision by the EU to focus on the Green Deal in December 2019. And the second one is this Russian aggression in Ukraine, I think. In both cases, in fact, let me start with the Green Deal. Green Deal itself, both digital and green transformation, makes this customs union arrangement that we had with the EU kind of meaningless. You know, we need to go over and deepen our relationship, because now with digital transformation, the backbone of international trade, our trade relation with the EU, is going to be more digital, more the regulations need to be kind of, you know, made similar to the EU regulations. We need to establish a kind of a new framework there's a new framework in our trade relation with the EU. So I think without doing something, without modernizing, without a decarbonization agenda for Turkey, I don't think we can talk about modernization of the customs union arrangement, first of all. Because in the past, Çiğdem Hanım remembers when we do analysis on this, you know, the possible impact of the customs union modernization on the EU and on new countries and on Turkey. We don't have this Green Deal framework. The last one was done in around 2014, those impact analysis. So I think there is the need to have a new look at the situation, and we need to make preparations. Let me, in parentheses, add this other item of, you know, extending the, you know, because Ms. Akorn mentioned extending the customs union arrangement was also one of the objectives of the modernization process. That's correct, because our customs union arrangement depends on only industry. That's why Turkish industry has turned into a mid-tech industry. Turkey has become a mid-tech industrial country as a result of this transformation. So when we are talking about the positive impact of the customs union on Turkey, on the Turkish economy, we are focusing only on the transformation in the Turkish industry. But now, if you look at how industrial transformation is happening everywhere, you know, servicification of the industry, the importance of service sectors in the industry is of utmost importance. So extended, that may be why Turkey is still a mid-tech industrial country. In order to make the next jump, it is obvious that there is the need to extend the customs union framework. And there is that interest. When you look at the latest survey, there is that interest also, which is visible. The second, you know, game changer now is the Russian aggression. The major question might be that whether the Green Deal process may continue. I was reading, I think on the 6th of March, the corporate leaders group at University of Cambridge has a letter to Ms. von der Leyen stating that this is the right time to push forward the green transformation and focus more on non-hydrocarbon energy resources. Make plans, you know, accordingly. There is a similar plan in Brussels too. There are similar plans, let me say, in Brussels too. I think this is going to, we are going to see how this aggression process, we don't know how it's going to end. This is like, you know, the pandemic situation. When it started, I was expecting it to end in days, weeks, and now it's prolonging, and there are the sanctions, the effect of the sanctions on all countries, the effect of rising hydrocarbon prices on all countries also at the same time, including Turkey. But I think we shouldn't forget the major objective of following the Green Deal transformation process in this whole, in this recent situation. So let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nele, would you like to add something?
Well, thank you very much. I think it's of course, as the ambassador was saying before. I mean, there will be a lot of reassessments, but of course, the European Commission's priorities are very clear. It is the green, it is the digital transformation, and also just to draw attention that just as late as a few days ago, the European Commission adopted a new initiative called Repower EU. So this is sort of perhaps gives also an indication of the most recent thinking precisely on the issue of energy and how to take it forward from here.
Thank you so much. So it is seen that according to the result of this survey and our discussion here shows that there is a strong support for the modernization of the customs union and the Green Deal, the digital single market will be important topics for the future Turkey business relations. Thank you so much. We are behind our schedule, but it was really important remarks that you mentioned here. Thank you very much for your time and being part of this project and for your continuous support, because this is not the only event you are involving in, and it is really appreciated a lot. Thank you so much, and thank you very much for your physical participation. And there are more than 100 people in front of their cameras. Thank you very much for your interest in the TBD project and TBD SME survey launch event. And hope to see you soon in our next event soon. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.